What is the current state of Theakston's beer? We're about to find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today we are taking a look at two brews from Theakston from up in North Yorkshire. And well, to be honest, I picked these up in my local Waitrose a few weeks ago, and when I stumbled across them I was slightly surprised. I'm not sure why. I've just got so accustomed to Theakston basically doing nothing new for the general market. We'll talk a bit more about the nuance there in a minute. That yeah, it just took me a bit by surprise. I was aware of this, the Peculier IPA. I knew they'd done it. I'd seen it mentioned on socials, but I'd never then seen it anywhere else. And this salted caramel porter, I was completely unawares of. So I think it just kind of provokes an interesting question. What is going on with Theakston? Are they still producing top quality things? For a long time, and I've not been quiet about this, I generally preferred their controversial, what's the word? Enemies seems a bit too on the nose, but their heady rivals, Black Sheep, who stem out of the same family, disagreement between two brothers who own the Theakston Brewery. One of the Theakstons went off, found a Black Sheep, and in general, I've been a lifer for Black Sheep over Theakston until recently. Now, for those of you in the know, Black Sheep got taken over by a private equity firm a few years ago, 2 years ago I think, because basically they were not profitable. But prior to that, they'd had a few attempts at making a few more quid to keep on top of things in the supermarkets, and well, yeah, that pineapple milkshake IPA still haunts me to this day. Since their kind of drop off, and I'm not saying they're entirely bad still, by the way, I would like to revisit them soon. I'm just giving you a bit of backstory in terms of my opinions. Since then, Theakston's slowly been chipping away into my psyche. Both of them are made out of Masham in North Yorkshire, spelt Masham, but I'm always told that's not how you pronounce it, so Masham will be for the rest of this video. And I've visited both breweries and a lot of the local pubs that serve one or the other or both. I've had a lot of it close to source, and frankly all of it close to source is pretty exceptional. But I've also had some more Theakston a bit further afield, places like Tanhill Inn, still in Yorkshire but not on the doorstep, where frankly a pint of Old Peculier might be the biggest outlier in beer right now, in that it's an older British ale that's well known, easily available in supermarkets, and yet hasn't diminished in quality. If anything, I think it might have gotten better. But anyway, enough waffling from me. What are these two like? Well, I'm going to start with the Peculier IPA. It is the stronger of the two, coming in at, if I can spot it on the back here, 5.1% versus 4.2 for the salted caramel porter, but it says the IPA should be served cold versus the porter that should be served cool. So I'm going to let that warm up a bit while we focus on this Peculier IPA. I have a horrible feeling about this. Let me just move this one out of the way for a moment. That basically they went, well, how do we get more sales? And they jumped on the IPA train, probably, let's be honest, 8 years too late. It's a good looking thing. I understand why they've taken that peculiar name, literally, and slapped it with IPA, because it's probably more recognisable. Hobgoblin did it. They got rid of their other brand names and started just doing Hobgoblin IPA, Hobgoblin Pale. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand it entirely from a marketing point of view. And it's just one of those things that we have to grin and bear. The description on the back here is premium ale, served chilled. In fact, that's all it says. Theakston brewing legend since 1827. Yeah, I mean, that's all of it. I don't know what sort of IPA it is. Is it going to be more trad? Is it going to be more, you know, modern? I don't know. Going with a relatively trad glass. Speaking of, actually, Hobgoblin, this is a retro Witchwood beers of flavour glass. This was, I'm not going to say pre Marston buyout, because it wasn't, but it wasn't long after. it still had the original branding. Let's get into this and see what's going on. I'm hopeful that Theakston have carried on their ability to book the trend and produce something of quality, but we shall see. I'd love to tell you how much these cost, but I'll be honest, I've forgotten. They weren't especially expensive. I didn't feel like they were anything abnormal. Probably in the region of £3 a can. I'll put it on screen if I manage to work it out. So it looks like a golden ale, has to be said. Just stick that down there. Does it not? In the glass, that is a properly deep, rich beer for an IPA. Almost looks like a big malty German lager, other than slight lack of foam there. Aroma is fresh, grassy, a little bit funky, fuggy, trad hops. It smells like a classic British ale, and I'm not hating that. This has all of the components to me. It smells slightly sweet, slightly floral, slightly grassy, slightly malty, which as a collective could yield into something, well, frankly brilliant. Let's find out, shall we? Cheers. Oh, it reminds me of something. Come back to that in a minute. It is big. It's very crisp. It's refreshing. It's slightly sweet. Is it hoppy enough to call itself an IPA? Just. It is on the border. For me, that's not a bad thing. But just, oh, it is, because the bitterness at the back there. Oh, that slaps. It's, you know how everything eventually goes in circles, trends and everything else. It feels like I'm getting incredibly excited about trying a beer for the first time that I actually drank back in 2008, if I'm totally honest with you. But again, that's not always a bad thing. Peculiar by name and slightly peculiar by nature. They aren't wrong. And I don't want to say this because I feel it now feels like I've mentioned it too many times and I've got it in my own head. But very genuinely, this feels like one of the beers from the experimental era of Witchwood, of the glass that this is in, which was, maybe it's not perfect. And to be honest with you, what's in here feels better than what I think that was like. But it just feels, look, by today's standards, it's tame and relatively middle of the road, and you know, all these things that people who love really exceptionally verbose beer, big, loud, hop to the eyeballs, you know, that stuff are going to say about this when they try it. But this has got that thing that I've been harking on about recently that I really want from my beer, which is nuance, a bit of simplicity, nowhere to hide. It is genuinely very nice. It's not perfect, but my reaction to this, I think, is more born out of a bit of a lack of hope for the UK beer industry in terms of easily accessible, relatively affordable supermarket beer. It's been so poor of late across the board that when I see something new, I know it's been around for a bit, but new, come to the shelves, I think, this can't be good. This can't be good. And you know what? It is. It genuinely is. I'm going to dissect it real quick to let you know what it is and isn't I like about it, because it's not perfect. It won't be for everyone, but I am absolutely digging it. So, tip of the tongue, it's just sharp and fresh. The next bit, there's a bit of citric sharpness that's so prominent that when you're trying to dial in on individual tones, it is going to start to grab your attention, which, no surprise, is exactly what's coming next. It's sharp, it's bitter, it's citric, but without being juicy, if that makes sense. It's the physical embodiment without heaps and heaps of just being a fruit bomb, basically. It's letting the other flavours trickle in and do what they need to do. The citrus is there, it's just very much kind of a supporting role. It's giving you a physical experience without delivering its full jam, if that makes sense. Because if it was as sharp as it tastes, then we'd just be talking about a massive rattler. So anyway, mid-palate. First bit where I go, lacking a bit of flavour. And the thing I've just realised is carbonation doesn't exist in this beer. This is not a nucleated glass. I didn't do a heavy pour. It's pretty flat, is what I'm going to say. Now, I know lots of people who go, I can't drink lager anymore, Tom, it just bloats me. This is for them, if I'm honest. This will do the trick, but it is lacking a bit of flavour. I think it's because of that lack of carbonation, and carbonation doesn't just give you that freshness, it also amplifies body. Basically, it makes it feel thicker because of, well, there's more stuff in the liquid. So as a result, it's a bit splashy, it's a bit thin. Back end, we're back to a little bit of bitterness, nice bit of malt profile coming through. It's sweet, it's light, slightly shortbready, but not massive. I realised at this point I've not mentioned the grassy tones at all. They are an undercurrent throughout the whole thing, just waiting to kind of peak. It never really happens. And then on the aftertaste, as you saw earlier on, it is bitter. It holds on for a minute, but the more you get down it, the more you drink it, everything kind of acclimatizes, and, well, it's a genuinely brilliant beer. It's not the best beer, but it's really, is it even genuinely brilliant? It's genuinely very good, but I'm finding it brilliantly enjoyable. Can you make that distinction? Some things don't have to be perfect to be worth talking about, I think is probably where I'm at. This falls into that category. It's not the best thing ever, but it might be a refreshing change to some things on the shelves. And the thing that's really sticking out to me isn't that it's better or worse than lots of other beers. It's that it's doing something that no one else is quite getting right. A lot of the trad ales, in the supermarkets especially, are slacking off. They're getting a little bit watery, a little bit just less invigorating, less inviting. I find myself buying less of them for sure, and that's that. And the craft beer in the supermarket, or craft beer, let's be honest, is just trying to ride that wave of keep packing it with as much real or artificial hops as possible to ensure there's like a high degree of flavour to mask the fact that we've cut the quality on the ingredients. This doesn't feel like the most audacious, extravagant set of ingredients, but it doesn't feel like they've tried to mask it either. What they've done is use the ingredients they did have the budget for and made them complement each other really well, resulting in something perfectly nuanced, balanced, and all the rest of it, which, well, that's how you make a damn good beer. And on to the salted caramel porter. As I said, 4.2%. Interesting looking thing. The reason that this really appeals is not just the fact that it's a dark flavoured beer, because, well, ultimately I am quite a big fan of dark flavoured beers. I generally actually prefer my stouts non-adjuncted. I would have preferred just a Theakston porter, but in the times I've been up to North Yorkshire, to Masham, surrounding areas, and in particular to, I think it's called the Bull's Head. It's a pub, but it is effectively Theakston's tap room, and they do a lot of dark beers that you don't really see out and about everywhere else. They'll be in pubs around Yorkshire, I'm sure, but slightly further afield just doesn't happen anywhere. Of course, you could order direct, but let's be honest, most people, most of the time, are trying to get a variety of stuff, not just buying from one brewery. So, yes, I don't see it very often. And those dark beers have been exceptional, basically, is what I'm trying to get to. They have been incredible, and as a result, if this is even nearly on the way to being the experience I've had with those, well, we're just going to be having a very good day. So let's get into it. Going into my Blue Monkey glass, which is another fantastic, I was nearly called them Trad Brewery, but really they're half and half and riding the line very well, which, well, Theakston haven't even attempted, by the look of it, to go down the crafty craft range. And judging by that last beer, that's to their benefit. Now that looks like another beautifully poured pint. It is a deep ruby red. It's on the verge of a brownie red. You're probably not going to be able to see it, doesn't really matter. But can you see the foam on that? To say that this is just a bottle pour, it's not bottle condition, but just a bottle pour. I've had worse head retention from a nitro can. Significantly worse. That looks the absolute business. Now, aromas, hugely rich, hugely sweet, very caramel, toffee, vanilla infused. It's a bit sickly sweet on the aroma for me, if I'm honest. It feels lactose infused. I don't know if this is a lactose beer. I would like to know. Doesn't say so from the quick look on the back, but it's got that kind of condensed milk kind of sweetness to it. This could be interesting. If you stick your nose right in there, you do start to get a little wafer hint of the malts coming out to play, but it is not much. It's mostly adjunct on the nose. I'm not going to say it's a slam dunk no for me from that, but I'm more worried about this, ironically, than I was about the IPA. So let's give it a go. Cheers. Always sweet. Oh, that's interesting. It starts off, I'll be honest, as a little bit of a sweet mess. Lots of people will love this beer, right? I am that weird bloke who will say he wants nothing more than less bitter, sweeter beers, and then very quickly decide that it's too sweet. Again, like with everything, I'm looking for nuance, balanced deliverables, right? And initially, it is crazy sweet. It is too sweet. Right up front there. And then it washes away like that. It kind of gets to the, just approaches the back of the palate. It's all wiped away. You're left with a little bit of residual sweetness around your lips and whatnot, but it's just madness. There's a tiny bit of roasted malt on the aftertaste. I can only assume it's this salted caramel idea. Whether there is actually salt in it or not, I do want to find out. Let's top this up. But they don't give ingredients. I don't think. It's just allergens, which salt is not one. So I don't. Hold on. No. Yeah. Licking your lips. I think there is salt in there, which is interesting. Which means potentially the salt is stopping it from continuing down that very sweet route before it gets to, I guess, the kind of the big taste buds at the back of the tongue. Stops it being too much and balances it off reasonably nicely. But there is a little problem with this, which means we don't need a full taste test, because the delivery of flavour is just out of whack. I need to say, by the way, it's very nice. If you like salted caramel and you like dark beer, it's probably worth a buy. I'm probably going to buy more of these, because on an autumnal evening, when you want something reasonably chilled, bit sweet, not too complicated, you know, festive feeling, it's very nice for that. But as a beer compared to all others, and it's the only way I can review things, if I'm honest, it's just not quite right in some way. And it's just that it's an assault. It's a big, just never letting up assault of salted caramel. It really is. It's more than that. It's richer than caramel. It's caramel and toffee and vanilla and condensed milk and lots of very thick, very overly sickly sweet flavours right up front. It doesn't taste bad, and I've just realised what it is I think that's making me not get on with it, and a lot of those flavours are akin to diacetyl, which is an off-tone in beer. I don't think this has it. I think this is intentionally flavoured, of course, but as soon as you flavour anything with something that otherwise could be considered an off note, my brain's going, is this right, is this wrong? And I think that's the dichotomy we get ourselves in. But anyway, yes, it's too much up front, not a lot in the middle, little bit of roastiness on the aftertaste. All your aftertaste is up front here, on the lips, that bits of residual. It's nice. It's nice, but it's weird. It's more peculiar than the Peculier. If they called this a peculiar salt of caramel porter, I'd absolutely agree with them. And it does the business, and you know what? It probably is better than a lot of other stuff on the shelves, but it's just not quite good enough for me to go raving on about. I wonder. We don't have ingredients list, so I can't tell you, but I think the body and the sweetness and that kind of quasi-lactose thing is it's my least favourite adjunct of them all, maltodextrin. Now, of course, I can't prove it with this beer, but in beers with maltodextrin in, and there are exceptions, there are some where it's balanced off perfectly or not too much used or whatever it is that makes it perfectly nice. But in so many, especially when they're trying to replicate something a bit milky and basically trying to rip off a milk stout where it's not possible, it tends to go pretty wrong. Now, of course, this is all personal opinion, but the entire video is personal opinion. But for me, I can almost taste it. It's this kind of synthetic approach to dairy that just simply doesn't work. It's overly sweet, it's overly obvious. And again, it goes back to that balance thing, and it's just not there. This is not a bad beer, it's just not a great one. And in a wild turn of events, out of two beers from the same brewery, I'm really preferring the IPA over the dark one. So, yeah, I know it's just been Halloween, but this is a strange series of events. And that, I think, is about it. Have you tried either of these or anything else from Theakston recently? How was it? Let me know in the comments. Or any other more trad beers in the supermarkets that you think, you know what, there is still some gems out there. Also, let me know in the comments, please. But that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you'll be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.